Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
I'm Ted.
And today we want to talk about something from 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. One of the things that we actually kind of liked from that system that we've talked about incorporating into our 5e game, and that is Residuum.
So I pulled out the 4th edition Player's Handbook, page 225. It's got a small section that says Residuum. It's the magical substance that results from using the disenchant magic item ritual on an item. It is a fine silvery dust that some describe as concentrated magic, useful as generic component for rituals. In some exotic locales, Residuum is traded as currency, measured by weight and carried in small metal vials. Blah 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 goes into talking about its value, and that you can carry a lot of value around in very small weight.
Yeah, what is it, like something like 500,000 gold pieces is like a pound or something ridiculous. So where we don't want to see it as a commonplace item because we don't use magic items all that often, but it would be super cool as a reward for a spellcaster to find that ritual where they can actually suck the magic out of items and use it to enchant something else.
So in 4th edition, there was a 4th level spell that allowed you to just, I enchant an item, and you need to have the required gold piece value in stuff or Residuum.
Yeah.
Now 5th edition just doesn't have that requirement. You can just create the item, very similar to the way Brunar Battlehammer, who's got no spellcasting ability, did that in the actual Drizzt novels.
It's all DM fiat. Like you can, any wizard could craft a magic item if the DM says so. And also, I mean, in the DMG they do speak a little bit about some of the previous things like the schema, which that didn't come around until 3rd edition with Ebron, and what the schema is really, it's what it sounds like. It's a blueprint, schematic, for crafting certain magic items. Now it doesn't automatically allow you to do it, but if you have that, it kind of gives you the blueprints and you know what to do. Right. In AD&D, a wizard or spellcaster could enchant a magic item, but the process was much different. Like, they had to do a bunch of research, and then after they did that research, there was checks and rolls to be made, and then if you made those checks and rolls, then your DM would tell you what you actually needed to do in order to get it. And it could be, it could be some really obscure stuff like capture moonlight, on the first moon of the new moon on the first of a new year, or or it could be anything. It could, a vial of dragon's blood, given freely.
So in Ulthgania, Triumphs of Discordia, whatever we're referring to our world, we want it to be a little magic item light. Now, my version of magic item light and your version of magic item light are a little varied, but it's certainly not going to be, I'm an adventurer, and if you go by 3rd and 4th edition standards, you're not going to have all your item slots filled up.
It was just like standard equipment, and like even in 4th edition, they just blatantly moved the magic items into the player's handbook,
which Scott is all in favor for.
Oh yeah, he loves that.
He's like, this is where it belongs.
Yeah, I feel like Anthony from Cardboard Fortress is along those lines as well, more so. But we kind of like 2nd edition where they're supposed to be rare and wondrous, or even certain books and novel series where you're not gonna find magic items all over the place. So, but Residuum it solves some problems, right? If you have a player that uses rare items in your game, or uncommon or common or exotic weapons, like they're just you have to accept when you make those choices, you're probably not going to find that magic item. It's going to be very rare.
No, we'd played a campaign a while back where I was using a double sword. This is a 3rd edition game, and we were playing in a game where magic items was 3rd edition, so it was kind of incorporated that, all right, you need certain tools in order to be on par with the monsters you're facing. And you said, hey, if you're gonna use this weapon, it's obscure, so you're not gonna just find +1 double swords all over the place.
Right.
And technically, the way double weapons worked is in 3rd edition, each end needed to be enchanted. So finding
two
magic items.
Yeah.
So that even made it more complex. So you had to find a way to work it in that made sense. And once we actually found it, we were carrying it around thinking that it was just generic treasure for probably several sessions before anyone actually was like, wait, this is actually magical. What is this thing?
It looked like a candlestick.
Yes.
Because it was a brilliant energy double sword.
Right.
So there were no real blades or whatever. It was the 3rd edition version of the lightsaber.
Right. So with Residuum, it's something that it can be given out as treasure for the party to be able to do whatever they want with. Either go ahead and enchant something, or
sell it
for the coin value.
In the case of the Goblos, possibly snort it.
I wonder what would happen there.
Oh my God. Great, guys. You just snorted 10 grand worth of treasure. You guys won't be receiving party shares for quite some time.
And then of course, the players could, use it to, enchant something, and that opens up, the market in our world for, okay, well, so like the Goblos who want a magic crossbow or hand crossbow,
Yes.
You're not going to find those lying around like candy, so that could be a way to, okay, well, let's grab one of the people who's very magic, heavy, myself or Ryan, and they could, try to go through the process of making something.
Yeah, I just like it as an addition to the game. I like the idea of taking magic, like the whole idea that you would even sell a magic item if you go back to like 3rd or 2nd edition, or like you don't sell magic, you just keep them,
right.
Because, just because they're so valuable. And the other thing is, like, actually, in the game terms, it should be really difficult to actually sell them, to find someone who has enough gold to buy them. Mm-hmm. And the people who might have enough gold to buy them don't really need them.
Right.
What is... sure, there's nobles and merchants and what have you, but if they're not going out into dangerous situations, what are they going to do with a +1 sword?
Right.
Unless they just happen to collect, odd things or magic items or something like that. There's no real reason for it. So there's on several levels the economy for magic items kind of breaks down, because there isn't a whole lot of need for it. Like, who really needs a wand of fireballs? Like in day-to-day life.
Correct.
No, I gotta start the campfire. Boom!
Now, it boils down to, the kind of world that you live in. If you are playing in a high fantasy, high magic, high danger world where adventurers are seen as, heroes and above the, the common citizenry, and you can do that whole video game thing where you walk into a magic item shop where, you hawk your wares and he's going to sell that to adventurers who have been saving up to buy, that thing that's now extraneous to you, then yes. But the world that we play in, that doesn't exist. We don't have, that type of world. Yes, you have people who might be selling quote unquote magical wares, but you're looking about more like reagents or trinkets, things that have
charlatans,
things that are definitely more, low end. But you're not going to be like, oh, well, here's a 5,000 gold piece wand that's got 15 charges of fireball in it. Who's going to have that kind of coin lying
You mean there's
around?
not a guy in a trench coat on the corner going, "Psst, hey buddy," and he's just got a coat lined with wands?
No, because if there was, somebody would be like, all right, can I take him out and just take all his treasure? So somebody's going to think along those lines.
It is true. So with that, Residuum, would you guys any of you guys use it in your game? First of all, if you're not playing 4th edition, have you imported it to your 2nd, 3rd, or 5th edition game of Dungeons and Dragons? Would you use it in your game? Let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
Or you can head over to nerdarchy.com and check out the articles or get some sweet swag.
Till next time,
Stay nerdy.